Only good things. Jackson, how you doing? Jackson's one of my coaches. He coaches me for a few things, and I thought we might have a chat today about martial arts. And so tell us a little bit about when you started martial arts and why, Jackson.
Yeah, mate. I appreciate you having me here. I've always had martial arts as part of my journey ever since I was a kid. My old man was a martial artist. He studied Wing Chun for quite a long while, and I guess what you'd call today is combat martial arts. He was a military man himself back in the motherland, Chile. So he was always a big believer in the martial arts kind of lifestyle, and always kind of preached it. However, as a kid, I was just a terrible kid. I was never really very disciplined. I did every single martial art you could possibly think of under the sun. Never stuck with it any more than like 3 to 6 months. It wasn't until I found jiu-jitsu when I was probably about 18 or 19 that the penny dropped for me. And I've been kind of, I'd probably say, pretty committed ever since, trying to balance growing and scaling a business and living the martial arts lifestyle. I've given it a good nudge, mate. So I've always tried to be a practitioner and live the way.
I love a good origin story. Now, do you feel like somehow that background in martial arts helped you be successful in some of your other endeavors?
Huge. I think particularly jiu-jitsu has had the most significant and profound impact on my life above anything else. It is the single most difficult thing I've ever done. And I'm the type of person that I just throw myself at things and work them out. And I think that it's a pretty good metaphor for life, to be honest. There's certain things in life that you can bluff your way through, right? Like I can turn up and do a keynote speech with zero preparation and do pretty well. There's certain things that in business you just work it out. But you cannot fake jiu-jitsu. You can't fake it. You've got to turn up and do the work. And it was probably that contrast, given that I was a little shitbag of a kid and never really committed to much and just kind of breezed through by just being a bright kid. You can't breeze through jiu-jitsu. And it was that ultimate leveler that got me to understand the power of martial arts, particularly a martial art like jiu-jitsu, that I've never turned back since. And my life, my business, my relationships, my connections have grown exponentially as a result of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I love the realness, and jiu-jitsu is probably the softer of the very real things that you can do. Like, it's so real. Whereas, like, if I said to everyone, you're going to get the same benefit from boxing, you got to smack each other in the noggin, and there isn't really a like, oh no, I've had enough.
I've had enough. Yeah,
I've had enough now. So you get the same benefits from the realness in martial arts. The suffering in jiu-jitsu is enough suffering in the sweet spot. I feel like jiu-jitsu is a sweet spot of suffering, which is really good for people and building resilience as well. And I kind of try and push the same thing for fitness as well, but it's a little bit more esoteric. It's a little bit harder for people to grab those things, whereas fitness training can have the same effect for you as well if you hit that sweet spot of consistency and growth. But yeah, nothing as addictive as jiu-jitsu, right? It's fun, isn't it?
It doesn't have much gratification. Like, I've never been a big fitness person. Like, I've never been a runner. I've never been a swimmer. I have a very short attention span, and my mind is going 1,000 miles a minute. And jiu-jitsu has been one of the only things that kind of slowed me down and got me in the moment. And the amount of gratification that you get as a result of really sweating the success, right? Like, because it's the only way to be successful. You have to sweat your way there and put in the time on the mats, persevere through the injuries, work through the roadblocks, work through the plateaus. And then when you reach that next level, you whether that be in your ability, whether that be a grading that's taken you years to get to, whatever it might be, those milestones are just so rewarding.
Yeah, not only rewarding too, it's like all of a sudden you understand suffering a little bit more too, right? Where you're like, well, I got all these lessons from suffering. I got to do the same thing with my personal finances or whatever as well. So, I mean, that's the other side of your business as well. Is that what I really like is you guys do lifestyle design for small business owners and help other people with their money as well who are interested in lifestyle design. And I think to be successful either in martial arts or fitness, like the real success is when you understand how to make it fit your lifestyle.
100%. And it's knowing how to persevere through, I guess, the unknown, right? Like the scenario that I always thought, and like remember that first time that you're training jiu-jitsu and you've got somebody who's mounted on you, putting their gi over your face, like giving you a hell of a time, right? And when you're uneducated and you don't have the experience, it's overwhelming. And like you think of tapping, right? Just because you're like claustrophobic. Now you're not being choked. Like you're not being, there's no life-threatening part of that situation, but it's that split-second moment you've got in your head of saying, oh, I'm going to quit. But you don't. You push through. And then when you push through, you see an opportunity and then maybe you get out of the position or you work out what's the best way to go about it next time. And I see that the similarities are that particularly in business, there's so many people that get their business to a point where they can't see the light through the trees, but they tap out. And they do so prematurely. They were so close to success, but they didn't have the plan. They didn't have the skill set. They didn't have the experience to guide them that little bit extra to get them over the line, to get themselves in a better position. And I think this situation we've seen ourselves with COVID-19 is the perfect example for people who had the roadmap, had the skills, had the frameworks, had the experience to push through that little bit longer. Unfortunately, compared to many people who didn't, who've had to shut their doors and wind up their business.
What do you reckon the magic ingredient is there for you? If you had to say, well, if there was one skill that someone could have to push through those tough spots, what would be your idea of that magic ingredient? That because I got mine, but I'd love to hear yours.
It's determination. There is the determination is the most significant factor. And I don't know if you've seen that movie, The Founder, about Ray Kroc from McDonald's.
No, I don't think I have.
So Ray Kroc in this movie, he listens to this record. And Ray Kroc, I don't agree with a lot of the stuff that he did. And he was a pretty terrible person, to be honest. I'm trying to find this quote for you. I wish I could remember it off the top of my head. But he listens to this record, and it's like a motivational record that he listens to every single day. And in this, it basically said, nothing in this world can take the place of good old persistence. Talent won't. There's nothing more common than an unsuccessful man with talent. Genius won't. Unrecognized genius is practically a cliche. Education won't. Why is the world full of uneducated fools? Persistence and determination alone are all powerful.
Yep.
Determination is the key.
It is. Yeah, I definitely think it's definitely one of the keys. It's definitely one of the keys for sure. In my head, I know that maybe it's because I'm determined. Like maybe it's because I'm determined. But in my head, I feel some people are missing the self-awareness. Like instead of adding skills to things, instead they lack the self-awareness and they just go, well, I'm no good, so I can't do it. And then they give up rather than going, well, that's just where I'm short a skill. So all I need to do now is add a skill and then I'll be fine and I'll be able to move on. And that's one of the things that I love watching people do in jiu-jitsu is sometimes they come to a soft and then by the time they leave, they're a little bit more determined, they're a little bit more resilient, and they're able to add skills as they go. And then they're like, you know what? I can add nutrition as a skill now. I can add, strength and conditioning as a skill now. And they just start seeing this thing inadvertently. They're adding skills to their life. And it was jiu-jitsu that helped them think like that. And there's no other martial art that has really done that. And it's even like for us, how I started to train for mixed martial arts fights, I started to figure out, oh, wait, that actions on thing that I'm doing and just training a certain area of it to get better at jiu-jitsu, I can do that for striking too. We can just train back foot or front foot or just jabs, and we start adding skills to fix holes. And that I just don't see any other sport that's approached like that, you know. So it's very special, and anybody that is maybe even in the self-development space that's looking for a magic ingredient to add to their routine because they hate fitness and they know they should do some type of fitness, I really think jiu-jitsu could be the thing for them.
I agree. And there's patterns. Like there's a lot of highly successful people in the world that train jiu-jitsu now. A lot of high-level A-listers, a lot of business individuals. And look, they probably, there's some individuals there, but I'm not going to drop any names, that do kind of Hollywood jitsu. But hey, it's about the skill set, right? And I think that you're right. There's never been another martial art or sport that I've ever been involved in that's had such a systematic approach to breaking down the fundamentals into building blocks. And I think that's so important. And I think it's a transferable skill, because when we talk about building a business, where most people get stuck is that they don't know where to start. They have this goal in mind, or they have a challenge or a problem that's occurred, and they just don't know how to deconstruct it and reverse engineer it to work out the best approach to them achieving the goal. So what they typically do is they just throw themselves at the problem blindly, or they just have a red hot crack at it, and it doesn't get them the outcomes they want. Well, if we apply the methodology of jiu-jitsu of breaking things down into bite-sized chunks, we can troubleshoot the problem. Well, okay, the reason why you lost mount is because of this. The reason why you got passed was because of this. And then you can break it down to the specific problem that you need to get the repetitions out of to be able to build the muscle memory to allow you to even do the action without even thinking about it. And it's having that skill set of being able to break down those problems. It's universally applicable. And it's helped me.
It is universally applicable. Like, I mean, progressive load. So for all the strength and conditioning coaches out there, they'll know what I'm talking about. Progressive load. And it's the same as when you get someone who wants to change their nutrition plan. It's progressive load. It's one habit at a time. It's first drop the peanut butter on the spoon. You know, let's do that this week. And then we progressively change something the next week. So whenever anybody goes, oh, you know, like I want to do BJJ. Well, the first week, train twice that week is probably enough. The
Correct.
Second week, you might pick up a little bit extra because your body's going to be sore. You're going to get DOMs. You're going to get twisted. Your mind's going to be going, and it's going to be a whole heap of overwhelm. But don't worry about anything except for learning one concept or one bit of knowledge every night, and then you're killing it by the end of the time. And I suppose it's the same for business or personal finances for people as well. And one of the other things I wanted to get you on here for as well is like to understand that like a lot of you now are out there and you're struggling with like paying for things that are important to you and going, oh, no, I'll put that off because jiu-jitsu is too expensive or fitness is too expensive or I can't afford a personal trainer, but you don't even have the backup set in your bank account to understand to go, okay, well, this is important for me. I'm going to pay for this first and then this and then this. So you're not left with anything at the end. Instead, people are just flying by the seat of their pants. And, like if I could go back in my marriage and read some of the books that I learned about money at the beginning of my marriage, instead of like fighting about money and credit cards, I'd be doing that as well. But to all the young people out there that are like, oh no, I can't afford jiu-jitsu now because I need to be able to party on the weekend with my mates. You probably can still party, but not as much. But you need to have a plan. What would be your advice to people out there now that are looking at their finances with the change in the world and how to prioritize and how to lifestyle design to be able to fit in the correct amount of coaching that they want? Because I have that prioritized for myself and it's helped me big time.
100%. I think what we've first got to realize is we need to get over the commonly held belief that we need to shrink ourselves wealthy. And when we find ourselves in these types of situations, and look, this is unprecedented times. We can only compare this to probably like the global financial crisis, and this is still a very different kettle of fish. Whenever we are encountered with these really disruptive situations that kind of shake us down to our fundamental needs, we need to create a process of evaluation. And we need to understand that shrinking yourself wealthy is not always the best solution. Like the reality is, are you going to eat cat food for the rest of your life? in order to try and maintain a certain cost of living because you're concerned about what's happening. And what I've found is that for many people, they shrink too far. So I do agree that in situations like this, it makes sense to consolidate some things. But you need to firstly put things into two columns. You need to put things into your column of non-negotiable, the fundamental needs that you cannot do without. For me personally, and yourself included, Ian, is that martial arts, training, coaching are non-negotiables. There is no period of time, no matter how tough, what's going on, that we will ever compromise those expenses because we place far too much importance on those things because we know it's not an expense, it's an investment. On the flip side, there are other things that are discretionary, that are nice to have. They're going out and partying and doing all of these things. The reality is you like to do them, sure, but do you really need to do them? And it's about, are these things going to add value to your life? And the things that add value to your life should be non-negotiable. And the things that detract from your life, for example, going out and drinking and partying and doing all this stuff, although you have a great time, is it really adding any value?
No, I like red wine, but it adds no value to my life.
Exactly right. And it's nice to have, but it's a discretionary thing. So before you go out and cut off your nose to spite your face and cancel your gym membership and cancel your PT and cancel your jiu-jitsu and all of these things, work out, okay, well, maybe you need to consolidate, but what do you need to do to allow you to maintain these things that they should be non-negotiable for you? Because this is not a diet. This is a lifestyle. You don't do jiu-jitsu for 6 months and then quit and think that you're going to be the next UFC champion, right? You should commit to martial arts and your fitness as a lifestyle, something that you can sustain for the rest of your life. If you're not prepared to make that investment and take that plunge, then just don't do it.
Yep.
And it means that in the face of adversity, you persevere. Like, for example, like with my gym, shut down. The gym's been around for an extremely long time. And instead of cancelling my membership, I doubled it. Because the reason why is I place so much value on the fact that I wanted my gym to still be there when the lockdown finished, that I wanted to support my instructor and his family to make sure that they could get through this tough time so I could have an instructor to go back to learn from.
A shout out
doubled down.
The great and powerful Anthony and Nikki Lang as well. Yeah, I like those two cool cats. I've visited your gym only a handful of times, but have definitely been around Anthony a few times and did share some dressing rooms with him and his competitors at a certain point in time. So he's been around since forever and has a great gym and some great students too. There's Sonny doing a bunch of breakdowns as well, and all his students seem to have like a very similar feel too, which is cool. They've got a good culture there. I like Anthony.
And this is the thing, mate, that martial arts, with the lifestyle comes the family, right? And I know that's cliche sometimes, right? But I think that if you're going to be part of a gym and you're going to be part of a club, then you buy into the family as well. And what we've got to realize is that this is a legacy that's being left behind. That this knowledge is being passed through a long lineage of people who've sacrificed their time, sacrificed things in their own lives to be able to impart their knowledge upon you and impart their knowledge upon others after you. So I think we all have a duty to make sure that we roll up our sleeves and support in times like this. And the reality is, and I just made a post today, I was super excited about it. Looks like all of the gyms are going to be opening up in June. I think it was the 13th, they said, for New South Wales. So it's hopefully going to be business as usual soon, hey?
Yeah, that's super good news. I definitely know I've got a lot of friends that are gym owners down that way. So that's awesome news. If you've heard it here first, it's the first I've heard of it. So that's awesome. You might have heard it here first. New South Wales opening back up, which is super cool. And that culture is really important too, right? Like I feel like I protect it fairly honestly at the gym and try and speak a lot online and my Facebook pages once because I want my students to understand where my head's at, and I want them to come along the ride because we become the people that we hang around, which is one of the reasons I'm always on the phone talking to my martial arts mentors and business mentors and people that help me in tough times, whether it's tough times or not. I like to drop a line and ask them how they're going because I know that you feed off those people with good energy. Like I know my jiu-jitsu coach that I've been with for a long time, Paul Kale, he's a very charismatic guy and has got a good energy. Like he's an old war dog. So I love that energy, and I like to talk to him, and he helps me with my problems and is always there for me. And the same as the same as our business group and being with you. I think you're the longest business coach that I've held on to, because you do jiu-jitsu, but also because there's a really good energy, and I always leave those sessions energized. So I protect that energy now, and people need to be aware of that when they're training. Like if you're got a whole heap of baggage one night and you want to let go of it at the front door before you get in for your training session, and get in there and have a good training session and practice some mindfulness, because you can't be taking that shitty energy to the gym. Like let people lift you up, and maybe be quiet that night if you need to, but try and leave that baggage at the front door. Train, and then if you have to, unload on your training partners after training. Get it out, get that excess energy out, and then that's when the problem solving for everything else happens after class.
Yeah, look, I've found that jiu-jitsu's been super therapeutic for me. Like I refer to it as therapy because it's one of those things. Like we all have bad days, particularly when you're running a business. And I know that we've had a long day. I try to get to training, and I try and leave ego at the door, turn up, do what I need to do. And I always leave better and more leveled and have a heightened level of mindfulness as a result of having that experience. And what we've got to realize is that you've got another human being that's facilitating the class that's probably been in the exact same situation, right? Like we're all living our lives. We all have bad days, but that instructor is still turning up session after session, potentially multiple sessions back to back to share that experience with you. And I think what we've all got to realize, and probably the most significant decision that I made is that probably it's nearly 5 years ago now, I decided to make a big lifestyle change. And I think that you find that for many people, when it comes to their fitness and their personal life, there's sometimes a big decision, right? There's this constant seesaw. It's like, oh, do I want to commit to getting really fit, engaging in martial arts, becoming a really good competitor, honing my skill set? Or do I want to go out every single weekend and write myself off with my mates? And for a very long time, I was that second camp, right? And it was 5 years ago that I made a conscious decision. And I said, no, I want to maintain a sustainable lifestyle. And I'm going to give up drinking. I'm going to surround myself with right people. And I'm going to surround myself with that actually raise me, make me a better person. And similar to you, Ian, my networks are either my clients, my business mentors and colleagues that are very successful in business, or successful martial artists that live and breathe the lifestyle, because that brings out the best version of me.
Yeah, I love that. I really do love that. It's so important. Like if you beyond money, beyond jiu-jitsu skills, beyond being fit, like actually knowing who you want to be and creating that life, man, that's priceless. There's no bank account that's people need to be happy now and know what it is that they want to be. Don't put off things until later, which is interesting, right? Like, like being the wealth mentor, probably people think you're a leprechaun at the end of the rainbow, hoarding money, pushing people to hoard money. But it's not about that at all. It's really about lifestyle design, and and I've been big into that. Shout out to my first business coach, Paul Holland, if he's ever on here watching this. He helped me create a business from the very beginning that had me spending time with my family for school drop-offs and things like that. And it's something that I've tried to pass on to my students to make sure that we're not just teaching people how to punch and choke people well, we're teaching people how to live well. And that to me is more important to a martial artist than anything. And you guys do that really well through your business coaching group as well. You're trying to convince people that hey, like you might want this boat and everything else, but you should be living now, and which is really important.
100%, mate. Look, my motto has always been live for today and plan for tomorrow. This is not about squirreling away every last red cent in pursuit of a future that, let's face it, might never come. I think situations like we've seen through the coronavirus have brought it to our attention that life is short and things can change very, very quickly. And from firsthand experience, I talked about it in my book, that I witnessed my old man slave away for 40 years in his trade, and get to age 66, where he got diagnosed with late-stage pancreatic cancer, passed away very quickly with a mountain of regrets, hardly living all of the things that he was looking forward to in retirement. And it was this mantra that I developed of live for today and plan for tomorrow. You need to enjoy the here and now, but you still need to make sure that you're deferring gratification for the future. And this is all part of the martial arts lifestyle, the business lifestyle of having a sustainable lifestyle business that allows you to enjoy all of the things that you want to do. At the end of the day, like, we're doing martial arts because we enjoy it, because it adds value to us, because it makes us happy, and that it makes us a better person. So it's pretty much it all has to work hand in hand, right?
Yeah, it's such good advice, especially for people like, you know, they may have just fallen in love with jiu-jitsu and they're like, oh, I need to get there more, and they're trying to figure out how to balance everything, you know, which is something that I've always done at the end of every year now, at least since I got out of the military anyway. At the end of every year, I'm like, okay, what do I want next year to look like? What do I want this year to look like? And now we do that a little bit more regularly, but everybody should have that. I know sometimes people start to poo-poo New Year's resolutions a little bit, but like, if you're not spending time designing your life, you're spending time wasting your life.
And here's the thing, right? Like, New Year's resolutions is a great topic. Like, what do they say? The average number of days it takes to break a New Year's resolution is like 8 days. Or if it's giving up drinking, it's probably ended on the night, right? But the thing is, this is about turning dreams to goals. And I think there's so many people, whether it be martial arts, whether it be in business, whether that be in their lifestyle, that they set these lofty goals that are not really goals, they're dreams. That they have not taken the time that's necessary to actually break them down into a goal, turn that into a plan, and then execute on it. You know, one of the things that I've always been successful at, whether it be any aspect of my life, whether it be business or martial arts, is that I set my mind to something and I just chip away at it. And you always work better to a target. I set a goal that there will be absolutely nothing that happens in my life that will stop me from getting my black belt. I don't know how long it's going to take me, probably a long time, but it's about that. It's about that progress over perfection. And every time you turn up at the mat, it is one step closer to the North Star of getting to that end goal. And I guess it's one of these things that I remember when you first start martial arts, it's about getting that kick-ass skill set that somebody tries to muck around with you on the street and you can roundhouse kick him in the face or something like that. Hiya! But it's not about, and then it's about, it's about the grading. Like, oh yeah, I want to get that blue belt or the purple belt or the brown belt or whatever it might be. But once you've been involved in the lifestyle for long enough, you realize that those are just acknowledgement for the journey, right? And you trade the belt for the journey any day. And my old man told me this from when I was a kid. He probably stole it from Mr. Miyagi or something. But he said a belt's only as good to tie up your pants.
Yeah. So
and it only covers that 2 inches of your ass. You've got to cover the rest.
I love that, and it's you know what? There's so much value in that conversation today. I'm gonna cut it before it gets over half hour, so people can watch this in their lunch break or through dinner or something this afternoon. But Jackson, I really appreciate you coming on today. That was good talk. So
good to have a yarn, mate. Anytime.
All right, I just end the broadcast.